Welcome back to another One Mind Syndicate podcast. I am your host, Gersh1, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
The Sound Alchemist,
Docile Creature,
and we are continuing our review on Magnus, Master of Prospero.
Magnus.
In the, what is this, the Primarch series for the Horus Heresy novels. If you guys did not check out our part 1, where we go over chapter 1 through 6, I'll put a link up above or somewhere down in the description. And also, I wanted to remind you guys that today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to the link down in the description below and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to the link down in the description below, and we're doing that so that you guys can read along with us. The next book that we're going to read we'll tell you at the end of this video. But yeah, so let's get into what we think of the second part of Magnus, Master of Prospero.
Yeah, so just to kind of bring you guys up to speed, we just finished the the best battle that you'll ever see between a Primarch and a line of tanks. So Magnus literally just obliterated the Planetary Defense Force, the Red Dragons, that it seemed like they were coming to kill the Planetary Governor.
Yeah.
And then they started firing on Magnus. But yeah, he made short work of that.
Yeah, so it's towards the end of that. Magnus is kind of still reeling back, and I think this is where we see the true depth of how corrupted the planet is in terms of the, what are they called? Something Shitan?
The Sons of Shitan.
The Sons of Shitan, which is the cult that is basically wanting to kill their own people because the world is ending. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we get some of that. And I just really liked how Magnus, for the first time, was like, "Oh, I got hurt because of the cannon."
It's a las cannon shot to the chest.
And he's like, "I'm just gonna sit in this pain because I'm a Primarch, and I gotta remember this." I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and not just that, but like they're trying to save the city, trying to get all survivors, and it's cool because like normally through the Council of Nicaea, like psychers have to be basically not doing psychic stuff.
Yeah.
But here's where Magnus is like, okay, my sons, you can do whatever you want. We're doing this to save the population.
I always thought that was weird because I feel like these Space Marines, most of the time, their job is like life and death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, when are you not going to use your powers to save lives? Like, if I feel like this is like just the first, like, do they even ignore the Council of Nicaea in battle ever?
Well, I don't even think the book tells us if this is before or after the Council of Nicaea, though. And I think the ban happens because of what we see Ahriman doing in this, I think in chapter 7. He's scanning the crowd and reading everybody's mind.
But they're like grabbing their head like, oh.
Yeah. And that's why I think other Space Marines were like, what the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's doing that to, obviously, them, he does it to Forrix. Forrix is the Iron Warrior that's with him. Mm-hmm. And I think he knows that.
But so, Forrix was almost like encouraging him, like, do it.
In that moment, yeah. But I think that's like going back to that whole, like, the Council of Nicaea, and like, they're just scared of psychers because it's like, well, what can you do? And I think we also get a glimpse at how powerful Ahriman truly is when he astral projects himself out of his body in order to so before that, though, he's getting visions of
fire, death, destruction.
Then he tells Forrix, and then Forrix is like, well, do your little magic things and figure out what's going to happen. And then he's like, okay, so I can't find it. And I actually thought it was interesting that Forrix knows more about humanity to tell Ahriman, you're going individually. Yep. No. Find the connections between all of them. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, if I have to do that, I have to astral project or whatever it's called.
I really like that. Like, the masters of sorcery are like so good at what they do, but this Iron Warrior was just like, hey, like this small little tweak, and it's like, oh yeah, duh, let me just do that. Look for connections between. It's not just one person who's trying to kill all these people. It's a cult, so there's gonna be a bunch of people in the same area.
Yeah, I do like how the Book of Magnus does a good job of showcasing the differences between the two legions. So yes, Iron Warriors are like these brutes, and they're seen as kind of dumb, while the Thousand Sons are arrogant, but in that arrogance, they don't see the
small
obvious
things.
So yeah, he astral projects, and he tells Forrix, protect my body.
Yeah, real bro moment.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Make sure I don't die.
And then we get like a montage of Forrix being a badass, dude.
Oh, yeah.
One Space Marine took out everything.
I love it because I think he's like, yeah, okay, I can protect this guy. It shouldn't be too hard. And then like some tanks roll up some anti-air. He's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so at this point in time, was it Lux Farum?
Yeah.
Which is a massive, like, almost city, probably bigger than a city, right?
Yeah.
City-sized spaceship that has a bunch of refugees, and they're trying to go off planet. So basically, they're noticing there's anti-flyer weaponry coming down the line, and they're like, well, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then that's when the other tanks come in, and then they start firing into the civilians.
Yep.
And that's when Forrix is like, all right, I gotta take things up to level 10.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The transportation is being attacked by the sons of Shitan. And I think this is the same chapter in chapter 7 when the transportation ship actually takes off. And you get a glimpse of like the pilots or whatever. And then one of them has a bomb just strapped to her body.
Yeah, because I think the Vashti, I think, is our point of view character is like talking to somebody, is like, oh, do this, and they don't get a response. Oh, it's when the Thunderbolts go, right?
So as this is happening, as the battle with Forrix is on the ground, and the Lux Farum's trying to take off, then I think they see like 8 pips in this anti-aircraft space, and like Vashti is trying to messaging them and say, hey, this is restricted airspace, get away. Nothing. Hey, this is restricted airspace, like
we're gonna shoot you down if you don't stop.
And then I guess somebody comes on and says
through the Vox. Like, yeah.
And he's just, I think he says like the
Hail Shitan,
and that was the signal for
the chick with the bombs. Because he's like, what did he say? And then the chick goes like, hail Shitan. What?
Yeah.
So then that causes a series of events that eventually, like, are going to bring down the ship.
Yep.
As all this is happening, you see astral projection of Ahriman sees the explosion happen in the rig.
Yep.
Or I guess the command.
Yeah.
So as he sees this, he's like, oh shit, what's going on? Because he doesn't know there's a battle going on.
Yep.
Because he's like almost enthralled by the lightless and like just the astral projection form where he's like, I could almost lose myself in this state.
I liked how intoxicating they made like using warp powers make. Like they like, it's like a drug. Like they like doing it, and it's like, oh, I'm never gonna stop.
Yeah, I thought that it was awesome and how powerful it was because doesn't he start fighting flyers?
Oh yeah,
which is like, whoa, like you can astral project and you're stronger in your astral projection than you are in your human body.
And
like,
it's not even like fighting. Like they had no chance. Like he's just like, oh, I annihilated their brain. I take over this one's mind and I fly him around like a little remote control plane.
Yeah, I light the fuel in this plane up.
Yeah,
like, it's
they didn't have a chance.
No.
In my mind, I thought he was like transparent and nobody could see him, but the ships are attacking him, right? They're firing at him or something like that.
No.
The only person that can see him is Perturabo.
Oh.
That's what later on. I think it's like the next chapter or something. Like it says the Iron Warriors is like they just started killing themselves. We don't know what happened, and then Perturabo was the only one that could see astral projected Ahriman zipping around in the sky, and he's like, "Nah, this isn't them. This is the Thousand Sons." And they're like, "The Thousand Sons are attacking us?" It's like, no, they're doing magic shit.
Yeah.
And then it fails, right? So they can't get all of the ships they can't get rid of all the ships, and that's when we see, I think they destroy some tether or something, and that's when the ship starts coming down.
And they know for a ship this size to hit the planet, like it's a catastrophe.
The entire planet is going away. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And at this point, like you said, the badassery of Forrix is happening. He's rushing the gun line. He's just taking people apart, taking tanks apart.
They describe how like a bolt makes it through his leg and like shatters his whole leg down to his ankle.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like still going.
And don't forget, like he's got Ahriman's body on his shoulder,
Yeah.
and he's doing all this badass stuff. So at this point, he grabs 4 dead bodies and uses them as a meat shield to get closer to this tank that's firing like heavy bolters at him. And it's just, it's really awesome because you have this like epic battle going on, but then you also have like the anticipation of won't they save the Lux Farum from falling? And it's like, too many things are happening. It's like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, because in order to save the Lux Farum, Magnus comes in, right?
Yeah.
He takes the Stormbird, flies up, and right there and then, I mean, you guys had told me from the previous, because you guys had finished the book, you guys kind of like were like, oh, he's gonna do something badass. I was like, oh, so he's gonna stop the fucking ship coming down. But it's awesome that Magnus basically does like a spirit bomb version of like with all his Thousand Suns. So they start giving him energy so that he can slow down the descent of the giant ship. I thought that was cool.
I found it interesting in that moment that he said he could like feel everybody, all the Thousand Suns feelings, and like he was like part of their mind. But one of them, even the one that thought he was leading them down a dark path, and I'm wondering who that is.
Ahriman.
That's what I thought too, but then he doesn't connect to Ahriman until later.
Right.
Like Ahriman doesn't lend him his strength until later.
I thought it was. I remember in the beginning of the book, he's talking to that one dude, a father or whatever.
A father.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe it was him.
But he's not even there.
He's in
That-
the
right.
hole, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess we should talk about that because I think it's chapter 7 where we get a small little glimpse of what he's up to. And if you guys remember from the first part, they're going out and searching for the mystery of why this planet, the Morning Star, survived the long night. And they find this like basically colony ship, right? And they go into it, and that's where he's at, him and his group.
I found it interesting when they're like, I forgot the other guy that he's with, but he really wants to open it up just like, because he's a Thousand Son. He wants to get all the secrets. He wants to learn all the information. And Afava's just like, no, we got to wait. We should wait. And he's like, do you really want to wait? Let's just do it. And he's like, fine, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So that's where he's at. Meanwhile, Magnus is doing the fucking spirit bomb and holding down.
But it's not like he's doing this effortlessly. Like the dude's sweating. At one point, he like falls to his knees, and he's like akin to what is it, the Greek
Atlas
holding up the world.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool how the book showcases that this is the point where Magnus's arrogance comes in, and he's like, am I about to do something that not even the Emperor could do?
Yep.
I thought that was cool because it showcases just like,
And it almost tried to
confidence.
justify it. He's like, oh, what son doesn't want to outshine their father? And it's like it's fine to be that arrogant.
Yeah, I mean that whole process is really cool. In my mind, it was hard for me to like visualize all the other Thousand Sons giving him energy. Like, were they really holding their hands up, or like what was going on?
They described the scarab on their chest like
burning,
glowing, right?
But then, so Ahriman finally does lend him the power that he needs, and that's when I think Magnus realizes, oh, Ahriman's strong. Like he's
That's what I felt when he was flying around doing astropathic stuff. I was like, are all the Thousand Sons this strong,
Yeah.
or is Ahriman just like an outlier? Because what he did to those thunderbolts was crazy.
I know, yeah. And then it gives him his power to slow it down enough so that it doesn't crash and burn. It still crashes though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and then meanwhile, Forrix is still right next to Ahriman, and the way that they describe Forrix after
this is
battle,
before that,
the battle that he went through, like his armor's basically gone, his skin is black from like just being burnt, and like his lungs are giving out.
One of his
like,
eyes is like melted shut.
Yeah. Like this dude is like on death's door.
And he's just like, I did it, man. You're okay.
The title of that chapter where they describe him is Even in Death. So I thought, oh, they're going to put him in a dreadnought. This is badass. They don't.
Well, yeah, because
Ahriman comes back to his body, and he's like, oh wow, like you went through all this for me, and like Ahriman's fine. Like there's not like, I mean, there's little scratches on his armor, but like nothing to the point of what Forrix is. Who's literally like a little melted, like he's gone.
Like, I got you, bro.
I found it interesting that like he wasn't able to, like his power was not able to heal Forrix from that state. When like, I guess just like, I don't know if this is how it works, but he just wasn't strong in healing as he is and flying around murking people's brains.
Well, he does, though.
Yeah.
Well,
he takes the pain away from him first.
Yeah, right now, like when he first meets him, he couldn't do it. Otherwise, he would have done it. But then he has that vision.
Yeah.
of the future, and Forrix basically
It's a traitor.
turned into a traitor,
Yeah.
and then he's about to kill him, and then I think Magnus like starts siphoning off his power or whatever, and it like overrides him and makes him heal him fully, essentially.
I thought that was cool, because it happens twice, I think, where Ahriman is about to kill Forrix because he knows that he's going to become a monster, basically. Yep. And at first I was like, yeah, and Thousand Sons are loyalists. Oh, wait, no, they're not. What? Like, why? At what point did the chapter know that it was going to go traitor? And I think it showcases that Thousand Sons were never supposed to be traitor. I think the Thousand Sons were screwed over. Magnus did nothing wrong with that whole thing.
Well, we can talk about that.
You got to remember, all is dust here.
Yeah.
But
Something I really liked about that is like when he was dying, I was like, okay, cool. He's not going to turn evil. My boy Forrix is going to die a hero, and then he has the vision, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, and then that's when they have that little conversation of like, well, what are these visions that you're having? Because you had a vision of this thing coming down and destroying the entire city, but it's not going to happen. It's like, is it just not a glimpse into the future, but one of many paths? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then that's when Ahriman's like, you dumbass, why are you trying to like be philosophical?
In his head, he says,
yeah, obviously. But again, just showcasing.
He's like placating him. He's like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, that's really smart. Yeah. As if we haven't thought of this before.
I thought that was funny. Ahriman's a bitch at the end of the day.
I like him. Because like he could have been like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. But he's at least like patting Forrix on the head and be like, yeah, that's a great idea, man.
I guess. But then how does he save him? Because he does save him.
Yeah, I don't think it's explained.
Yeah.
But I think when Magnus takes his power, it it overloads Ahriman. He just like bursts out too. Like healing, I guess, and it like heals him from what I read. I
kind of like a sharing of power.
Yeah, like
in a way,
flowed both ways, kind of thing.
Oh, and then at the same time, I think there was a little blurb of Magnus saying, "I shielded myself from the mind reading of my legion." And because of what I'm doing, this is the first time that my legion, or at least the ones that were giving him power, saw into his mind.
And I think the double-sided kind of fucked up part of that is when he's like, my favorite son, Ahriman, and the whole legion can hear him say that. It's like, well, fuck you too, Dad.
They do that a lot, though. I feel like we saw that in the Angron book, too. Angron, like, made Karn his little dude, or what was it?
His equerry, yeah. I mean, but... He doesn't say my favorite son. It's just kind of like implied.
I hate this one the least.
Exactly.
I feel like there's two parts in part 2, at least the way that we were reading it. Because once the city gets saved by Magnus, we see... Oh, Magnus blacks out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's Perturabo who ends up picking him up.
Well, yeah, he blacks out and he's about to fall. And guess whose arms he falls into?
His boy,
Perturabo,
yeah. Which was cute.
Big, strong arms of Purdy.
Yeah. He's still, I think, somebody that I did not expect to like that much. Perturabo's a badass.
Definitely. Yeah. Like, I knew he was cool, like, because I would always hear, like, he pulled the most weight in the heresy. And it's like, okay, so he was a badass, heretic. But here, it's like, no, this dude's an awesome guy.
And I like the way that they write his character of just being, like, a bro.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, so he blacks out. And I feel like that's the end of that whole little thing. And then in my mind, I was like, what comes next? Like, why do I care anymore? Mm-hmm. But that's when the mystery comes in. Yeah. Like, okay, so what's happening to the planet? Perturabo's going to try to figure that out. And then what's the whole mystery with...
the Shitan?
The Shitan.
Sons of Shitan and all that.
But the colonization ship and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So that's when Magnus comes to after a day and a half, right? He's like, what's going on? They explained to him how badass he was. He's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Like,
just another day's work.
Yeah. But then he realizes that like all the people that were giving him energy, they died.
Oh,
not all of them.
Well, most of them.
But a lot, like 20 or something.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's like, they're just dust.
Yeah.
Because the warp flames just consumed them. Mm-hmm. I really do like how they're describing warp powers in this book. Just flames of different colors and just, it's pretty badass.
The mystery...
Yes.
We flash back to,
Well, it's not a flash. Well, I mean, because this is all happening like around the same time, roughly.
Because like what happens is like I think Magnus and Perturabo. Magnus obviously says, okay, so what's gonna happen now? Like how are we on track to get these people out of the planet because the planet's still getting destroyed? And then Perturabo's like, well, turns out that all the people you saved are probably gonna end up dying anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when Magnus is like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go see what's up with my boys who went to go search for whatever they were searching for. And then Perturabo's like, oh, somehow they find that there is a point on the planet that's causing the thing, right?
Yeah, the whole catastrophes, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, all that.
So that's when Perturabo's like, well, I'm going to go figure it out. And then Magnus is like, why? Like, our whole point is to get them out. It's like, well, some form of vengeance.
Yep.
And that's when they split. Which one do you guys want to talk about first?
I guess the earthquakey stuff.
Yeah, it's less exciting.
Perturabo turns out to be, well, not surprisingly, an amazing pilot.
Yeah.
He's going through tsunamis, warp, or not warp things, but
Magnetic
like,
storms.
all
He's
that
like
kind
the
of
Anakin of 40K.
stuff. Yeah. And even his Iron Warriors are like, how are you doing this? And he's just like, shut up. And he's just trying. So he's pretty cool.
There's the one guy's like, I don't think we should go do this anymore.
And then they finally get to the point where the tectonic plate was like shifting and all that kind of stuff. And they discover a giant machine from the Dark Age of technology that's pushing one tectonic plate over the other. And that's what's causing the whole thing. So that's when we figure it out. This isn't just some natural thing that happens. This is being caused by the Sons of Shitan.
But something that was revealed here that I don't understand, or maybe the payoff just wasn't there, is Perturabo's like, well, I think the people that are with Perturabo's like, how did they keep this secret from the Imperium?
Yeah.
And then he's like, they didn't.
Right.
They knew the whole time. And it's just like, what does that mean?
Well, it just means that the planetary governor that they were trying to save was in on it. Like the cult and all that kind of stuff. Like it was.
We knew. Like, maybe that is just the answer. I was expecting something bigger.
Yeah.
Like the Emperor wanted this planet to die or something for some reason because of Shitan, or I don't know.
I think it's more of a sense of the planet tricked the Great Crusade into being like, oh yeah, we'll fit to your imperial compliance. No, fuck you guys. We're actually not. And then later on, in the part that we're going to talk about with with Magnus, we find out why. But yeah, for right now, I think Perturabo's in that like state of, should I kill these guys or should I not? Like that whole like.
And then they start like bombarding the machine, and the guy with him's like, "Why are we doing this?"
Yeah.
It's like, I want to hit something.
Yeah,
Essentially,
give me something to destroy.
Yeah.
I did think it's really cool because if you know the lore of the Dark Age of technology, the Age of Strife, and all that kind of stuff, you know that the cybernetic revolt happened. So that's when the Men of Iron basically turned on humanity. And whenever you think of Men of Iron, sometimes you think of like that miniature from Blackstone Fortress. So you think of robots, like actual robots. But in the books, you also get a description of like planet-sized robots that used to control, and that's what this is.
Yeah, like
It's
a terraforming.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. It's like, oh, this is a Men of Iron. This is what they're talking about. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, to me, it's like, why would you destroy something that is like so revered? Like, wouldn't this be used as like war? You want to recreate it or something like
Especially
that?
for Perturabo.
Yeah.
But it's not a fast. I mean, it's fast comparatively to actual tectonic plate movements, but like it's not like this. You just like slap this down and destroy a planet. It takes a while.
Yeah.
But
But
it's easier to just virus bomb.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's just that in the beginning, the first couple chapters, Perturabo and Magnus are seekers of knowledge. They want to know. They want to tinker. So why would Perturabo just be like, now I'm mad, I'm going to destroy this thing.
Well, he did it earlier to the warp thing. He didn't like the warp thing, so he destroyed it. And this thing is just something he doesn't want to happen.
Yeah,
so
that's
he destroys it.
But that's pretty much the climax of that story. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just kind of petered out right there.
Yeah. And then we jump to Magnus, and he finds his men.
Fava.
Yeah. Him entering the colonization ship was kind of cool, because you do get a glimpse of that like Dark Age of technology, and they bring it up of like the golden age of humanity and all that stuff, kind of stuff. And it turns out that the sons of Shitan come from something dragons, right?
Red Dragon.
Red
The Red Dragons. And the Red Dragons are basically China during the unification, or, well...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you didn't get that?
No.
Yeah, so...
So on Terra, obviously, through like the techno-barbarian warlords, everything split up into different like
fiefdoms.
superpowers, like areas, and like China was one of them.
Yeah.
And this is one of the colonization ships that departed from China to kind of go explore.
How did I completely miss this?
Yeah, I forget
Because
when
they
talk
don't
about
outright say.
Well,
it.
yeah, they wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's China.
Yeah.
They do say Asia though, like
Yeah,
Asiatic or
something like that.
yeah. I thought that was cool, and then we get in basically the ship is full of a bunch of spirits, and and those spirits are. This is where I kind of I don't know if I'm getting it right, but from my understanding, those spirits were psychers that traveled in the colonization ship when the Age of Strife happened, and like the what is it called when all the psychers went crazy?
The night when all the psychers went crazy.
Well, it was like a galaxy-wide thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every person that was even minutely psyker ended up getting like too much power to like where they couldn't control it, and they were like creating wormholes and blowing up and stuff like that.
So basically, the colonizers tried to get
Sure.
rid of
Yeah,
the
the
psychic
psychers.
things, experimented on them, and they all the psychers basically came together and created Shitan,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, because they were like stripped of their psychic abilities.
Yeah, they were like put on like a gurney type thing. They had like little like
Helmets.
put on them and experimented on.
Drilled their skulls out.
Them. Yeah,
And obviously that's traumatic.
They didn't like that very
Yeah.
much.
but yeah, so it's all these dead souls coalescing into one being.
Shitan,
And Shitan has now taken control of
Faba, and Co.
Yeah. So those 1,000 Suns that first came in there that were like, ooh, should we open it? Well, this is what happens.
They're possessed.
Curiosity killed the cat. And then there's a battle between Magnus and those guys. And a lot of conversation between,
Yeah.
Magnus and Shitan.
And somehow they strap Magnus to a table.
Well, because I think Magnus understood that, like, oh, you guys are like me. I'm a psyker. I'm being hunted or...
And he knows, like, if this happened to him, he probably wouldn't be that different from these spirits. Like, it'd be an awful thing if they took away his powers.
So he sympathizes with this entity called Shitan, and the 1,000 Suns, or they attack the 1,000 Suns, and the 1,000 Suns attack back, and you see that first infighting. And I think this is when Ahriman has a vision of a future where Battle Brothers kill Battle Brothers, which I don't is that
Prospero?
but not Prospero. Oh, it is. Yeah. You're right, because he talks about Lehman Russ. Right?
Yeah, wolves. Yeah.
Because I thought at first I was like, oh, is it the Drop Site Massacre? But the 1,000 Suns aren't at the Drop Site Massacre.
No.
Yeah. So we just keep getting these little nuggets of the future, which was really cool.
Yeah, and it's like the whole time I feel like they're hesitant to just outright kill their own battle brothers.
Yeah.
And I think somebody mentions the fact that like once you kill one of our own, then there's no coming back from this.
Yeah.
And then Shitan like summons up a whole bunch of like basically zombies, because they're like in these like gestation tubes, and he like breaks them open, and like these zombies they're a little bit more resilient than humans, but it's still nothing like bolter fire would just like blow them apart.
Yeah.
But they're still like trying to come at them, and it makes a fight that should be kind of easy into a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But nothing too crazy.
And the whole time that's happening, Magnus is getting his brain drilled out.
Yeah, but the whole time I'm like, why would he allow it to go that far? I feel like Magnus was holding back or something, because like, I don't know, I just don't see a guy as strong as Magnus just like succumbing to Shitan like that.
I feel like I blinked and he was on the table getting his
Yeah.
head drilled. I was like, how did this happen? Like, I don't know. But I don't think he was holding back, because he was like, later on when Ahriman shows up, he's like, help!
Yeah.
Do you think part of it is just that he's weak from the spirit bomb shit?
Yeah, could be. Weakens him.
And then he fights, what's his name?
A father?
Yeah, doesn't he? At that point?
This part's blurry to me.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of infighting, but like at the end of the day, like he has like the golden crown on him, and it's drilling into him, and then it's like Shitan is like, see, this is what has become of all of us, meaning all psychers. This is what will happen. We will be stripped of what makes us special, and we'll just be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Magnus is like empathizing. I can help you. Just let me go.
Yeah. And he kind of does help him because Shitan survives. He basically takes out his book, his
grimoire.
Book of Magnus.
Yeah, and says, "We'll live in here."
Like, I could show you the difference psychers can make.
Yeah.
He's like, you get to live through me, and we'll show you what a better future can be.
Pulls out his Ghostbuster trap and sucks up all the ghosts.
Yeah. Or like Blue's Clues goes, if Blue can do, we can do. And then he goes in. And in the process, the Battle Brother dies, right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's pretty much the end of it. It goes to an epilogue revealing what happened afterwards.
Well, when does he have this conversation with the Emperor?
Oh,
True.
so that was when he was blacked out. That's a big.
Yeah, how could we gloss over the freaking Emperor? Like, that's a big part of the end of the
I
book.
wasn't sure when that happened.
I didn't like the way that they described it. I felt like it was very like Aladdin and Jasmine traveling through the entire world kind
Which
of
one's
thing.
which?
Well, Magnus is obviously the woman, but the Emperor and Magnus are just having a conversation as they travel through the galaxy in their astral projection, right? And for me, it seemed that the Emperor really, like, how could Horus be the favorite when he just fucking drools over Magnus?
Yeah.
But like throughout the heresy, you see that like, yeah, Horus is the favorite, but I feel that that's also because he's everything in one person. Magnus is just the psyker part.
Horus is the complete package.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Emperor does say, you have this about me, like they're positives or whatever. But he's like, but you also have. Do you remember? What the negative was?
I wrote this down because I thought it was pretty important.
Yeah.
He says, like me, you believe you can do no wrong and cannot make mistakes based on petty emotion. And like that to me was like crazy because that's the Emperor admitting he makes mistakes and he makes decisions off of emotion. So like I think for a lot of people we tend to see Big E as like this omnipotent, basically a god, like that could do no wrong. But he admits himself that he makes decisions off of emotion and he knows he's made mistakes.
Which is huge because during the heresy, that's all he does.
Yeah.
Mistake after mistake. And it's funny because in that whole conversation, Magnus goes, "You, father, made a mistake?" He's like, "I will."
Well, something I liked about that is the Emperor says, "I've made mistakes." And he says, "You've inherited that part of me." And the first thing Magnus says is, "What mistakes have I made?"
Yeah.
Like he's like, "What have I done wrong?" Big E is telling you he's made mistakes, and your arrogance is saying, "Wait, I did something wrong?"
Yeah. He's super arrogant.
Yeah.
But cute, so it's okay.
He's red.
He's kind of cute.
He got one eye, so he's always like winking at you.
Yeah, but in that whole process, I wish I would have gotten more. It was very, very simple. And I wish they would have explored that whole concept a little bit more. But,
It was one of my favorite parts of the book, I think. Just like,
I mean, anytime the Emperor's involved, it should be pretty like
yeah,
big.
intense.
Yeah. And I think that was it, right? That we didn't really take anything bigger from that. Like he didn't share, like, oh, you're gonna sit on the golden throne or anything like that.
I don't think so.
No.
It was just like, be careful of your, arrogance.
Oh yeah, because at one point didn't he say like, where can I not travel? And then the Emperor's like, oh, you naughty boy. Like,
That's Pinocchio and Geppetto now.
yeah. So yeah, if we go back to the end of the book, Magnus decides, fuck it, let's just virus bomb the planet. So everything was for nothing. And you see it.
and he does it to like snuff out all seeds of the Sons of Shitan. Right?
Yeah. Even though Shitan is with him, because the prologue, we find out, it goes back to him after, or on the planet of the sorcerers. His planet is in ruin, and it turns out that figure, that mysterious figure that was with him, is Shitan.
Yep.
And Shitan's basically, what was the point of Shitan?
I have written down, like, was this conversation, this prologue and prelude or whatever needed? Like, could we have just started on Morningstar? Because I don't think it adds that much to the story to be like, and the spirit was Shitan the whole time.
Yeah, I would say yes, like get rid of it, but the last line I think was like, okay, it's worth it. Because at the last line he says, they're basically talking about how the person that's gonna go back to the Morning Star is not you, Magnus.
Oh, yeah.
It's Ahriman, and Ahriman is gonna do the rubric. What is it called? The something, whatever creates the rubric Marines.
Yep.
And that's when he says, when one story ends, another begins. So it's like that of like, oh, now I want to read more about Ahriman.
Yep.
And I think that was the whole point of the of both these parts.
Yeah, because like in the beginning, the Alfather, with obviously we know as Shitan, he's like, you need to remember what happened on Morningstar. So at the end of it, it's like, we went through all this, and for what? For nothing? Because it shows him like picking up dust, and it's just like crumbling from his hand.
And like at this point, Magnus is like, "Why did you have to be the one that survived the whole virus bombing and shit? The spirit of Shitan, like that was gonna kill him, but why did you have to be the one that followed me to your?"
Yeah, and no, yeah, and I think that's the end of the book. So if you guys like last thoughts, what do you guys think?
I thought it was cool. There was definitely a lot of really high highs, more so than in Angron. And I was always interested in Magnus, so to see how Magnus behaved as like a person, and not just like an awesome psyker with like interesting abilities that like is now a puppet of Zeech.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I do think that this makes me feel more for him falling to chaos, where it's like he always wanted to do good. And again, the one thing that keeps tripping him up is the thing that he keeps saying, like, oh, I'll never make a mistake. And all he does is make mistakes.
Yeah, true.
I have very similar like ideas. Like I really like how these Primarch novels, we're seeing characters before the fall, like Karn and Ahriman and the Primarchs themselves, not so much Angron, but and seeing like who they were before they were these evil
Beings,
heretics.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, those were the good days. Like Perturabo and Magnus just broing out on a dying planet. Like I want more of that.
I think it's going to be really fun because we're going to create a before and after video, us explaining what we thought of Magnus after we read the book. So subscribe to the channel for that, because it's probably going to come out next week or in a couple days. But as far as the book overall, I feel like there is too much added when it wasn't needed. Because there was a point where I felt like we're following Perturabo, we're following Magnus, Ahriman, what's Forrix, and then the other guys, and even like the pilot chicks. And I felt like
Vashti, who survived the explosion.
Yeah.
By the way.
Like, come on, a dude or a chick explodes in front of you and you survive. That's kind of stupid. But you're following too many stories, and in comparison to the Angron book, where really you just had one overall theme, which is the butcher's nails, and you had like 4 characters that you have to worry about. Here, there's so many characters. I feel like I love Perturabo, amazing character in this book. He was not needed though. Like, what did he?
I don't know. I think he added a lot.
Yeah.
Like just the dichotomy like,
between the two.
But I guess this is I'm finding that this is my frustration with these books of like it focuses a lot on the Legion and not so much the Primarch.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's something I think we're gonna like.
All
Maybe
the
it's
books, yeah.
Maybe that's like really what these books are. They're not like a story of the Primarch. It's like how the Legion sees the Primarch.
Yeah.
Which is maybe that's how they all are. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like just some things, because it was hard for me to. I was not as excited to read this book as I was with Angron, and I think it was just because Angron felt way more like to the point, whereas this was like really descriptive and like it felt like it was some of the chapters were being stretched out. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, yeah.
I think Angron hooked you from the beginning and made you want to keep reading, and this book, all the juicy stuff was in the second half. So it's like you had to get through the first half to get to the second half. I like the first half too. I'm not as negative on it, but I definitely see how it could be like a bit of a slog to get to the exciting stuff.
Yeah, which is funny because when I was doing the audio, the audiobook, like I had to replay the first half twice.
Yeah.
Because I was just not really paying attention. I'm like, okay, so what happened? Like, who's this? What happened here?
And I think because one of you guys said like the payoff wasn't really there, and I feel like the payoff wasn't there with the world ending thing.
Yeah.
Like I
even
think
with
it's a
Shitan, I felt like it was.
The planetary government was in on it the whole time. Isn't a very like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even really a character in the book.
Cool concepts, but it's just it just did not deliver. So I take back the whole. I recommend this book.
You don't recommend it?
No, I don't recommend it.
Wow.
I'm like, hopefully, Lorgar is going to be better.
Yeah, which
That's the next one.
Lorgar. It's interesting because if it is going to be about like everybody and the Primarch itself, we get to learn about Corpheron, Erebus.
I hope Argotol's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are big names.
Right.
Corpheron is probably the worst character of all 40K.
I've heard that, but like, isn't Erebus just worse?
Yeah, it's between one of those two, but I feel like
Which was
Erebus
the one with
is
the tattoos on his face.
They all got that.
Oh, the Erebus.
I mean, Erebus is like they all have him, but I think
Yeah.
Erebus is like
Erebus is the
original one.
he's the one that like pushed all the events to happen.
Corpheron was like the adopted father to Lorgar.
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
Erebus
yeah.
is like the little,
Bitch.
what was the guys in Lord of the Rings?
Hobbits?
Silver Tongue or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Grima or whatever.
Grima Wormtongue,
Yeah.
yes.
It's going to be fun talking about that because I really do not like Erebus. That's not even his name. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
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 Bitch ass.
Nobody likes Erebus. Anybody who says they like Erebus is a contrarian.
Yeah. So if you guys want to join us in the Hate Erebus Club, get that Audible.
Watch, we're going to read this book and be like, Erebus wasn't so
Yeah,
bad.
we love this guy. Yeah, get that Audible link and get yourself that free book.
So you guys could read with us, and we'll talk next week then.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts for Magnus, and keep subscribing, liking, commenting, etc. As always, it's been the Sound Alchemist here with
Gershwan.
And docile creature.
and we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any